Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Oh, that's what I always think when I listen to a Daniel Jones supporter. This is Tim, the New York Giants Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. Want to talk about everything that's wrong with Daniel Jones and his supporters. Oh, it could be a long video, but we're not gonna go. Well, yeah, we are gonna go in depth, but I was just thinking about this as I still see people trying to, I guess, rationalize his poor play and his poor play over the last 6 years. We've talked about it. We thought about the anecdotes of NFL history and a quarterback who's had so many opportunities that it's just for naught. I want to talk about Deonte Banks in his effort on that one Saquon Barkley run where he did appear to pull up and slow down and kind of give up. That's not acceptable. I saw Bobby Okereke do that a couple times as well. We talked about it on the live stream yesterday. But I want to play a clip though from Tiki Barber.
Defensively, there's a lot of talent.
Yes.
Brian Burns has been amazing in the last 3 or 4 games, constantly being
in the last 2 games.
Backfield. Dexter Lawrence is a defensive MVP right now in the NFL.
Tay Banks is making business decisions. They're not good.
Tay Banks is not who he thinks he is.
Well, that's a problem.
That's the problem, is that he thinks he's a shutdown corner, and he doesn't play that way. And he gives up on plays, which is inexcusable. The fact that...
Okay, I had to just cut the clip off right there. Tiki Barber, to say that anything is unexcusable, you gave up on an entire franchise. You gave up on an entire city. You gave up on all your teammates. And you do not have the right or the wherewithal ever to look at someone else and say what they did on the field is inexcusable. You are at the height or the peak of your career. You had Tom Coughlin help turn your career around with your fumbling problems. Then when you're all of a sudden that sportscaster, you're like, well, Coughlin never really helped me with that. But you credited him with it when you were playing. You walked away the year before the Giants won the Super Bowl. And I honestly think the Giants won the Super Bowl because you weren't there. So for anyone to sit there and say to anyone else, well, that's inexcusable. What you did has been so inexcusable for years. You gave up on your wife. I believe either she was pregnant at the time or you got your mistress pregnant. So for you to sit there on WFAN, which is now just full of crap. WFAN is not even listenable anymore. It's not. No, the schmooze is gone. Mike and the Mad Dog's gone. You know, I mean, it's just unwatchable idiots or unlistenable idiots. But for Tiki Barber to sit there and say, well, he gave up on that. He gave up, which is unexcusable. You gave up on your teammates, your franchise, your city, and your fans, and your wife at the peak of your career. And then you're going to sit there and think that you are going to have the audacity to say to people, well, that was unexcusable.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die.
You're neither a hero nor a legend. You ran for 10,000 yards, yes, but nobody cares. I want to talk. Let's give them something to talk about. I want to talk about Daniel Jones, his supporters, and everything that is wrong with Daniel Jones and his supporters. I really want to talk about this. I really want to delve into this a little bit. I also want to mention that October 28th, if you're going to be in Clifton, New Jersey, I'm going to be live streaming from the Shannon Rose Bar and Grill or Pub and Grill over in Clifton, New Jersey. It's an Irish pub. I'm going to be live streaming that for the Pittsburgh game starting at 7 p.m., going all the way to the halftime. We'll see if we go to the second. You know, we'll see what happens. We'll see how long we can go.
That's what she said.
But if you're in Clifton, New Jersey, or in the area, it's going to be October 28th, Shannon Rose Pub and Grill. We're going to be starting at 7 p.m. We're going to have a bunch of the gang out there. So if you're in the area, stop on by. Let's start from the moment of this draft. Everyone kind of knew that Daniel Jones was a reach. People say that Mitchell Trubisky, the Bears trading up to get him, was a reach. Daniel Jones at 6 was even a bigger reach. He did not have a prolific career at Duke. Dave Gettleman thought he saw something in this guy. And again, Dave Gettleman, trying to be the smartest guy in the room, had an offensive-minded head coach in Pat Shurmur. Had to go get a quarterback to replace the aging Eli Manning. It was just the wrong choice from day one. And the whole issue with him coming in all of a sudden and kind of being anointed, the Giants and Pat Shurmur made this mistake of turning around and basically giving Daniel Jones the job. They gave the obligatory, hey, Eli Manning, take 2 games and you can have him. Then we're going to bench you. And that's what they did. That's why it's still why we're cursed. That's why it's the Eli Manning curse. And it's always going to be the curse until Eli Manning gets in the Hall of Fame. It's interesting that the only game that we have won was the weekend that Eli Manning got on the Hall of Fame ballot. But when you went out and got this guy, the fan base all of a sudden went nuts because it was no longer vanilla. You thought we were getting Rocky Road. I was there at the preseason game where he threw that touchdown pass against the Jets. They booed when Eli Manning started the game. Dan Jones comes in, throws that touchdown pass against the Jets. You would think the Messiah was in the building. You never know how good something was until it's gone. Just ask about just Eli Manning, Phil Simms, Charlie Connolly, Y.A. Tittle. At that point in time, he was the anointed one. The fans went crazy. The fans went nuts. But Pat Shurmur, in his infinite wisdom, knew I got a rookie quarterback with a limited skill set. So he knew to save his job, he was going to have to play the rookie. And he was like a maestro, Shurmur. He really was. He understood, you know what I'm going to do? We've talked about this a million times before. We're going to talk about it again. I'm going to cut the field in half. I'm going to give him a short route and a deep route and tell him to throw to a spot. He's not going to have to make any reads. He's not going to have to do anything because I'm literally going to tell him, throw there. And if that throw is not there, run. So instinctively, when Daniel Jones is told what to do, he has his moments where he shines. Hey, listen, I'm told what to do. And I sat there and I watched a bunch of these games. And the majority of his stats came in like 4 games. And then the other parts of the games, not putrid, but the other parts of the games, he was a rookie quarterback and he looked like a below average rookie quarterback. But those other games where he threw 3, 4, multiple touchdowns, you would think again that there was something there. And I kept looking at it and going, no, there's just not, I don't see it. I did a video right after the season and I got blasted for it because I pointed out all the deficiencies. But the problem is when you took off the Eli Manning blinders and you all of a sudden got something new, a segment of the fan base decided, hell, you know what? This guy is pretty good and he's going to be our quarterback of the future. And I had the audacity to sit there and tell people, well, he has no pocket awareness. He has no pocket presence. He doesn't know how to read defenses. He has no pocket mobility. He has no understanding and feel for the game, and he has to work on these things, especially his pocket presence, pocket awareness, or he's going to get killed. You would think I basically went out and kicked some kittens because a large segment of the fan base went after me. You are stupid. You know nothing. I said, okay, I'm just telling you what I see. Year 2 rolls around. We all know what happened in year 2. There was the regression. And people started saying, oh, it's the sophomore slump. That's all that is, the regression. There's injuries involved. That's just a sophomore slump. You know what? We still believe in the quarterback messiah. Well, I kept telling people again, did not see any growth from year 1 to year 2. I saw no growth. And I thought that was really strange because normally, even in a bad season, you see some growth. You see some tendencies to do things differently. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, well, you know what? Maybe it's just because, you know, he's just not fully getting it yet or something. You know, maybe it just hasn't clicked. He played in 2 more games, still went 5-9. 2,943 yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And we had the fumbles, we had the interceptions, only completing 62% of his passes. But you just felt, people still thought to themselves, well, if we can correct the fumbles and the interceptions, things will be fine. And I kept saying, that's not the only problem in his game. There are still holes in his game. He still does not have the ability to read defenses. He still doesn't have the ability to have this awareness in the pocket, knowing when to climb the ladder, knowing when to run, knowing when not to run. And then I kept bringing up back then, he's not checking out of plays. Even as a second-year player, you would think there would be maybe one or two times in a game you would check out. He wasn't, and he still doesn't. So year 3 rolls around. Again, we had the injuries. 11 games, 4-7, 64%, 2,428, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I love it because he cut down. I love it. People are like, he cut down on his interceptions. Yeah, he went from 10 to 7. And only threw the ball 361. He only threw the ball 361 times compared to 448 the year prior. And you have to worry about the neck injury. You have to worry about everything else. But then again, in year 3, I'm at 24 years old. I'm still hearing from the fan base, well, it was Jason Garrett. It was all Jason Garrett's fault. Everything is Jason Garrett's fault. Jason Garrett's a terrible offensive coordinator, a rotten fucking Dallas Cowboy coach. What a fucking moron this guy was, even though he was a genius offensive coordinator before he became the head coach of Dallas Cowboys. But I kept trying to explain to people, some of Jason Garrett's game plans were phenomenal. He took the limited resources he had in reference to his quarterback and wide receivers, and he knew right then and there, especially after the 2020 season, he knew that I got a guy that really can't read defenses, has some wheels, has no pocket awareness, has no pocket presence, does not have a feel for the game whatsoever, has god-awful ball placement. But, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dink and dunk offense and hopefully predicate it with a running game. And it's the ball placement that always kills me because everyone's like, he's got such great. You would go to training camp, he'd be all against the all cones teams, all shorts teams, and his fans would be like, his ball placement is phenomenal. Best ball placement I have ever seen. And I've said it before, everyone looks good against the all shorts team and all cones team. Gets in the game. What does he continuously do? Throw his wide receivers into contact. That in 2020, when Saquon Barkley hurt his ankle, it was going after an errant pass from Daniel Jones. Throws his players into contact. But the segment of the fan base is still like, well, you know what? He's improving. And again, I'm saying I don't see any progression. I said, if anything, I'm still seeing more of a regression. Well, then we had the miracle season, 2022, 3,205 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions.
You were the chosen one.
He is now anointed the chosen one again. 7-2 start, finishes 2-5-1, goes to the miracle playoff run. Beats Minnesota, gets whopped by the Eagles. And then once again, I come out with a video and I say the same thing. I'm not seeing any progression. The Kafka, sure, it's the Kafka offense. The Kafka Dable offense is a dink and dunk offense that is in the same guise as Jason Garrett's. He barely threw for 200 yards. How many games? And he only threw the ball 400. People don't understand. You have people in this league that throw the ball 500-600 times. The most Daniel Jones has ever thrown a ball in a season is 472 times. His ball placement, once again, was terrible. Saquon Barkley had a renaissance rushing for over 1,300 yards. It was Saquon. There was 4 games that year where I definitely can tell you that we don't win without Saquon Barkley. Just like Philadelphia has 3 wins this year. And actually, they have 4 wins, but those 3 of those wins should be credited to Saquon Barkley. Again, I'm seeing a guy that is running a dink and dunk offense, is using his legs more than actually having his throwing ability, and he's only completing about 6.8 yards per pass. when the league averages over 7. Still has no pocket awareness, still has no pocket presence, still doesn't have the ability to understand or read defenses, still doesn't audible out of plays. But in year 5, or I should say, I rephrase it, in year 4, he's the quarterback messiah still for some people. And I keep thinking to myself, I keep banging my head. What are they seeing that I don't see?
You put that evil on me, Ricky.
That was the wrong sound effect.
Quarterback sucks, man.
Thanks, man.
Don't get me killed. Throwing high and across the middle.
He throws high and across the middle. He throws his players into contact. He has no velocity on his pass over 10 yards. But people still see something that on paper, if you were to put these numbers down, they are an average to below average NFL starting quarterback at year 4 at 25 years old. 26 years old in 2021, the Messiah starts the season, of course, gets injured, goes 1-5, only 900 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. All the ugliness of all the 4 years prior come around. He gets injured again with the neck and the ACL. And once again, we have to hear, well, we've done everything to screw this kid up. All you ever do is repeatedly draft offensive linemen. We've talked about this a million times before. Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, now Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, Golden Tate, smooth sounds of Kenny G, Paris Campbell, Darren Waller, even to the point of Evan Ingram and now Saquon Barkley. They all sucked. And it was never Daniel Jones's fault. They go other places and they all of a sudden excel. Golden Tate, the Golden Doma, loved in Philadelphia, loved in Seattle, had the audacity to yell at Daniel Jones when he finally threw him the ball for a touchdown, saying, listen here, motherfucker, throw the ball to me. This is what happens. Get suspended a game for conduct detrimental. But again, a segment of the fan base doesn't see it. Still has no pocket of presence, still has no pocket awareness, still does not have the ability to read defenses, gets rattled more and more now when the pressure comes in. Once the pressure comes in, it's done. It's over. You sack him once or twice early, it's done. Good night, Irene. You are finished. But you still have a segment of the fan base who's still defending him in year 5 as the Messiah, 26 years old, with all the deficiencies he has in that first season. His ball placement is still god awful. But now, with the injuries, I see this going in at 27 years old. 7 starts, 2-5. Only completing 62% of his passes. 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He looks like David Carr. He looks gunshot. There was a pass. The pass play to Slayton was, to me, the telling sign. In baseball, there is a term called stepping in the bucket. And that's basically when a batter's foot goes towards and kind of pulls to the side instead of going directly towards the pitcher, going directly at the pitcher. It's basically when a batter is afraid of getting hit by a pitch. He's kind of almost like when you step in a bucket, you're almost kind of bailing out on a swing, but you're not. Sometimes those step in the bucket can cause a batter, doing that, you're sacrificing bat speed, sacrificing power, but it's basically because you're afraid. Daniel Jones had Darius Slayton wide open. All he had to do was step up and make the throw. He had this weird hop skip motion when he threw the ball, almost like he was stepping in a bucket. And he totally missed. He doesn't, now at 27, he has diminished velocity when there really wasn't much velocity there. He has diminished velocity, diminished mobility. Teams now understand, listen, keep Daniel Jones in the pocket, keep a guy in the middle of the field. If he tries to run, wallop the shit out of him. And people will be like, he's a tough guy. You know what? I don't need a quarterback being a tough guy. I need a quarterback to complete some passes beyond 4 yards. 27 years old, year 6, still has zero pocket presence, still has zero pocket awareness, still has no ball placement. He's going to get, and I said this before, he is going to get Malik Neighbors killed. Malik Neighbors now in game 7 is saying, listen, you saw the tape. I was open. There was a play. He was streaking across a wide open field. And people are like, well, Daniel Jones didn't have time. When there's a play that takes that long to develop, you know what you need to do? And you see the blitz coming, you need to change your protections. Eli Manning ad nauseum used to run that play clock down to the final couple seconds because he was making the line shift. He was calling out the mic. He was doing what he needed to do to put his players in the best position. Saquon Barkley has 91 catches his rookie season with Eli Manning, I understand, but all of a sudden he can't catch the ball when it's Daniel Jones throwing it to him. Why? No ball placement. No ability to make line adjustments, to make line shifts, to call out the mic, to audible out of plays. So to sit there and say, well, when you know you're going to have a play that's going to be that slow developing, you shift your protection, you shift your coverage to where you think the blitz is coming. We don't see that. But you still have a segment of the fan base that defends him in year 6 at 27 years old. You have to think to yourself, when is the madness going to stop? My madness is I kept telling people this quarterback class is not the greatest. Before the season started, I really liked Carson Beck. And I just see more and more things in him now this year. And I'm just like, that's kind of that's now the way to define a bad quarterback. That's kind of Daniel Jones-esque. But at this point in time, you got to understand that I just don't think he's the guy. Carson Beck. And then I wasn't a big fan of Cam Ward, but now after watching Cam Ward, I'm like, damn, this guy's got some skills to pay the bills. Maybe what he was in Washington is a little bit different than he is in Miami. And of course, like people say, he's got 3 Biletnikoff potential finalists. But you know what? Well, you know what I watched him do the last couple of weeks? I watched him read defenses. I watched him go through his progressions. I watched him go through 3-4 guys. I watched him check out of plays. It's amazing that a quarterback in college can do more things than Daniel Jones can do in 6 years in the NFL. Those that don't remember, we're going to say it once before October 28th, Clifton, New Jersey, Shannon Rose, Irish Pub and Bar and Grill. Going to be live streaming from there, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can also watch it, of course, on Twitter and YouTube. But if you're in the area, stop on by. Got a lot of people coming in, got a lot of regulars coming in that you've seen on the show. It's going to be fun. And as always, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell because you want to know why. That'll be awesome.